right, and welcome back, everyone. Money Show is pleased to welcome Harry Boxer, founder of thetechtrader.com. He has more than 50 years of Wall Street investment and technical analysis experience, including 8 years as a chief technical analyst with 3 brokerage firms. Harry's a renowned author and is widely syndicated on sites including MarketWatch, The Street, Forbes, and more. Harry, great to have you back. Great to talk to you again. It's all yours.
Okay, great. Well, folks, thanks for being here. Today, I just wanted you to take a quick look at my site. It's basically a real-time trading room with hundreds of people in it and sharing ideas. I'll give you a quick look at the room itself. You can see that constant updates going on nonstop all day, not only by my traders, but by myself, obviously. And I talk about not only individual stocks, but the markets itself, and give trading ideas, live trades, etc., like these two. ABIO, for example, was trading down around the 15, 16 range, and I told everybody it may run back to 17, 18, and maybe even 20. If you take a look at the chart, since then, it broke out there and ran up to 19 and a half, so that was a good afternoon day. That was just this afternoon. During the course of the session this morning, when it popped, it fell back on a falling wedge. I said if it breaks out above the I think it was 660 range, yeah, right there, we went in long. All my traders piled in right there at about the 6.5 range, and most of them stayed during the session. I gave various targets at 9, 13, and then at 15 and 18, 19, and we basically milked it all the way up. This was a 385% gain in one day today. It's just, one of those trades you get every week or two that is an ideal situation for my traders. And guess what? I don't think it's done yet. We still have an hour to go. This might be 23 before the end of the day. So anyway, that's the kind of stuff I do in terms of intraday day trading. Just want to give you a flair for that and a flair for what my site looks like, and with hundreds of people in there sharing ideas all day. So let's get back to what I do. I wrote a book called Profitable Day in Swing Trading. I did that because I wanted the layman to have a real simple book that tells you about how to trade technically using 1 minute intraday charts for day trading and 5 and 15-minute charts for swing trades. And so I'm going to go over a bunch of the day trades that we had today and some of the swings that I had recently that did really fantastic. We've averaged over 30% per swing trade in the last several weeks. So obviously with the cooperating market, things are well. But my book, Profitable Day in Swing Trading, using price, volume surges, and pattern recognition to catch big moves in the stock market is what I do. I'm a big believer that prices and form in all time frames similarly, forming pennants, triangles, wedges. You have your basic channels up, you have moving averages and support and resistance levels that I follow religiously. And basically what happens is in the morning I come in and I'm looking for stocks that are gapping up and running at 5 to 10 times normal volume pre-market. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for stocks that can pop and go. Here's a couple examples of some stocks that were older that ended up. Let's see if I can bring that up quickly. Here it is. So you can see that in the case of WUBA, one second while there you go. It popped with a breakaway gap. It ran up and then formed a nice little wedge. We bought some there, and then it coiled for a couple hours, but it finally broke out there. And when it did break out, many of us went in at that point who hadn't gone in or doubled their positions. In any case, this stock from this point went from 34.90 to 38 and change for a nice day trade. And there's tons of examples of that. This is just one from my book. In terms of today, intraday, we showed you the ABIO. I'll show you a few more ideas that I had earlier today. ORGO, which popped early on and formed a little flag right there. I gave a buy on it if it crosses 395.4 with volume. It went through 4 right there and went vertical in minutes to 478. That was a beautiful 75-cent trade in seconds, really, in about 10, 15 minutes. Then it coiled all day, and I had another buy on it there, but it never got through, and I pulled back. I said, if it breaks out over 480. This might be a trade between now and the close if it can pop. TGI was a nice trade. Look at the pre-market pop. That was last night, and this was this morning. And when the stock opened and popped, some of us got in earlier pre-market. We do trade pre-market on my site. This was when it went vertical early on. And then for the rest of the day, it really didn't do that much more and was stopped out in the 1080 range before backing off to 980. SLP popped, pulled back, and when it broke out of this falling wedge right there, I put a buy on it at about 44.5. And within an hour and a half, it traded to 47.75, and it's still consolidating bullishly. Net, this one's up 19% today. AXLA popped early and consolidated, and when it broke out there, we put a quick day trade on it, 585 to 635, about 50 cents very quickly before pulling back. But we also take into consideration what the daily chart looks like as well on every one of these trades. Here's a nice little one, long-term downtrend, but look at the action today. And it popped and went across key resistance here is where I put the day trade on, about $1.80. It ran up to 197. Actually, this one was not an official day trade. In my room, we don't trade stocks under $2 at any point, but lots of people in the room were talking about it. LVGO, beautiful trade today. As you can see, it popped and ran and flagged and kept going. Some of the people in my room were trading this one as well. But what I look for is stocks that are gapping, running, and have momentum enough to we can get a nice day trade on. Some of them explode like ABIO did. Look at it now. Folks, I'm telling you right now, this stock is not done yet. As much as this stock has gone up, and it's now up 380% in one day. And yet, momentum tells me before the day's over, this may run to 22, 23. I am not kidding. And I've also told my people at this point to raise your stops to 17. Underneath that, we want to be out. The stock has momentum, but you don't never know when a stock is up this much in one session, how it may roll over suddenly with big volume. Right now, you're not seeing it. There's no signs of a top until I see it blow off, spike up on big volume. Much like what happened this morning here, I'm not a seller. I stay long and I continue to add to the position, or at certain targets like here and there, I may have peeled off a portion of my position. I'm a big believer in not going all in at one time or all out at one time. You scale in and you scale out. For example, this morning we bought some there, and some of us bought more there. And quite frankly, if you were still in it, you could have added there again. On the way out, scale a little there, a little there, and a little there, and you still got, say, a quarter. You're still trading with a quarter of your position. Say you had 10,000 shares, you're out of about 7,500, but you're still sitting with 2,500. And should you get to 23, 24, you got a rocket, rock star trade that day. That's the kind of patterns we look for intraday. Stocks that are trending, consolidating, showing wedges, flags, and these are considered continuation patterns. And when you're looking for something intraday, you're looking for flags and for example, here's a falling wedge, here's a little coil, here's a flag, there's a long coil, a little mini flag. And when you see stocks continually do that in an uptrend, this is the perfect example how to stay in a trade. The number one question I get from my people all the time is, how do I stay in a trade? I'm always selling it too early. And I'll tell you why you're selling it too early. Because you see a profit and you want to grab it, you don't want to give it back. Well, one of the ways of staying in the trade is by selling a piece of it at each target and raising your stops each time. Nothing wrong with that. You take a look at the last bar, this just broke out of this right here. And should this get above 1996, above 20, I think you can go right to 21, 22 zone. This is live happening right now. DKNG, you have to consider where a stock has been. Look at this chart on a daily basis. Vertical from 10 to almost 40. And each time it came down for a day or two, it wouldn't break support. That's what's key to any stock. Support, and another support area. At a prior high, near a prior high. When the stock does that, it's just going to continue to go until it doesn't, meaning until momentum dies. Now, how can you day trade a stock like that? Well, you look at what it does early on in the day. Pre-market, it popped, it came down hard. When it broke above this line, right there is where we put a day trade on, at 36. It then popped and wedged and broke out again, and I said, this stock's moving higher. Some of us didn't go, who hadn't gone in, went in right there at about 37.25. And then within a half hour, it's trading at 39.45. Yes, you can see it faded in the end of the day, but it was a great trade from the initial entry at 35.75 to 39.75 for 4 points. And it didn't take long, an hour and a half. Alexion's a trade we made after it popped and pulled back. And pre-market formed a wedge. And then it ran up and pulled back again. This is where it broke out. This is where it tested the high and couldn't get through. And you can see it hasn't done much more, but it's up 9 points on the day. And between now and the close, it might very well make a late run. My target on this one, as you can see by that, was 118.19 zone. So didn't quite get there, but some of us made a few bucks on it. EOLS, this morning, pre-market, it popped and pulled back. And I told my people that if it gets through here with any kind of energy, it could pop. Well, right from the get-go, it exploded and pulled back. And then it started to run. When I saw it started to run again, I said, buy it, 529. And it went vertical to 575, formed the wedge and broke out, but never got through that. And you can see where it looks like now. This is very intriguing chart. Base, breakout, pullback, and now it's running again. I have a target about 645. People always ask me, well, how do you find your stocks? Simply this. Couple things. I look for stocks in pre-market that are gapping and up substantially, 5, 10, 20% or more. And I want to see big volume, relative volume too. One of the ways of finding relative volume once the market opens is Warden Brothers or TC2000. That's what this charting system is. It's called Volume Buzz. You see this here? ABIO is trading 280,000%. That's correct. 280,000% more volume than average for the day. It's 73 million shares. If you look at the overall chart pattern on ABIO, for example, nothing, going nowhere. Well, it did pop and pull back. This breakaway gap, once it got above that level, it was a rock star. And with the kind of volume of 73 million shares, unheard of, never in history has traded that stock before. And I'm big biotech news today. Now there's our little breakdown. So some of my people might have been stopped already because 17 was the stop and we hit 1680. Now it's a little tight because right there, if it still holds that level, it isn't done yet. It might still get there if it doesn't break down from here. So I would put the stop about 16.5 right now if I'm in it and then be done with it. It's too far, too fast. It's up way much. You do not want to give this back. So that's just an example of some of the swing trades we put on, day trades, excuse me, we put on every day. I even put one on a CGC this morning. When it popped and pulled back at about the 2040 range, I had a target of 2140. We reached 2149 and backed off, held support, bounced again, and now it's making new highs for the day. 2170 up $1.80 or 9% on 11 million shares. This happens to be a swing of ours as well. You can see how it popped, pulled back, ran up, and then retested. Now it's ripping it. My swing trade on this one is going to be 24 and 26 area. We get through that, you're looking at 28 and even 32. Marijuana stocks are on the mend. There's no question. Take a look at the action in the last 2 weeks on CGC, going from 12.95 to almost 22 here. Same thing with ACB. Huge run up and a big wedge. Tilray. I love that pop platform breakout and a little flag forming. Nothing spectacular today on this one. Lots of really intriguing patterns today to work with. Work is another. Let me point work out because it's a swing as well. Now take a look at this. Anytime a stock has a V bottom like that, like most stocks did in March, and then pops and forms this kind of right-handed extended V and then forms another wedge, basically put a swing on it in the high 20s. It's now 33. My swing target is 34.5, 3/4, maybe 35. And then I'm looking for 38. I think I said 35 and 38. You can see that this one's working well as it moved up another 3% today on 9 million shares. But the overall pattern shows a constructive V bottom with a platform, even an inverted head and shoulder type or right-handed extended V. Even call it a cup and handle, whatever you want to call it. From a technical standpoint, certain stocks and certain patterns form a certain way, and when they do, high probability of moving higher. Purple PRPL is another swing of ours. I put a swing on there when it broke out of the wedge. It ran from 9 3/4 to 16, which is my target. Actually got a little higher. I was 1596 actually, the high. It came down double bottomed, broke out again. We put another swing on it. It ran from at 780 to sit back to retest a high and pull back. Right now it's moving up again. I would not be shocked to see this make $20 in the near term. We got very lucky with MRSN. Let me show you why. When I saw this stock trade off the low and then consolidate here and consolidate and consolidate, and then it popped right there. I put on day before this stock, right then and there, at about 10:20, I put a swing on it. Next day trading was halted. The stock gapped up and ran up to 1966. Today, 20 3/4. So it's basically doubled in 2 days. Very fortunate to get 100% in 2 days on a swing, but that's what happened. And quite frankly, folks, this is not done. Any stock that gaps like that with volume like that often will either consolidate and move higher or just move directly higher. MAXR is a stock that I've had swings on 3 times. I put one on when it broke out there. It then went into a flag and it ran up to my target. Came down in the March, V-bottomed the platform that broke out, and 2 days ago I put another swing on it and it broke through resistance to 12. Currently at 1532, I have a target at 17.5 and 2021 zone right there. RVP is a low price stock that I love when I see. The number one thing that I look for, folks, is when a stock has made a long base, breaks out after reversing its downtrend. Simply look at this, folks. When you see a long downtrend like that, and it breaks out, then look for key volume and break through key resistance levels. This is the breakout right there that I put a swing on it. It then ran, wedged, pop, wedge, and I just really put another swing on it again. I love the look of this chart. If this gets over 610, you're looking at 9 and maybe 12 down the road. And you can see the stock did trade up in that 9 zone, 8 or 9 years ago. But here's the current pattern, and it's a beauty, and it's very strong. INMD, also the second time I'm swinging this stock. When it broke out here, back in October, at around the 28 range, I put a swing on it, which within a month, believe it or not, reached 58 3/4. Then it came down in a wedge and broke down and rolled over. When it platformed here and broke out there, I put a swing on it only to do one more retest, and now it's going again. Today was a significant day, going through a triple top, technically, with increasing volume of 1.4 million. I would be shocked if this stock didn't make a run near term at 33.5. Bed Bath & Beyond, also a nice swing for us in here. Rolled over and I reinstituted the swing when it broke out of the wedge. At around 6, it's made it up to almost 8 now. I'm looking for 10. Cloudera. And you see stocks that do this, beautiful uptrends interrupted by a negative market, and then reverse sharply and form a platform. I put a swing on it when it broke out right there, about 8 3/4. It's made it up to 1014. It looks to me like it's headed to 11 and 12, at least near term. I want to see these reversal patterns and consolidations. I want to see the moving averages come down, flatten out, and curl up, cross over. When you see, and by the way, these are 21 and 50-day moving averages. I don't believe in 200-day. I don't believe in 100-day. If you're an intermediate to short-term trader, 200-day moving averages are useless. That's my take. And anybody who's a new school technical analyst doesn't follow 200-day moving averages. That's old school, especially now with computerized trading and with things moving much quicker. If you wait for a 200-day moving average crossover or golden cross 50, 200, good luck with that. You're gonna catch only the very tail end of the trend. I'm gonna catch a trend when it first starts and milk it all the way up. That's the ideal thing to do. Here's a stock that we put a swing on, Zynex. Broke out, swing, ran up to the target. It's consolidating in here. As a matter of fact, right now it's snapping back today about $1.40. I'm told by some institutional traders who know this company, they're expecting big earnings this year, and they expect this stock to be $30, $35 at least. It's 1981 right now. Keep an eye on this one. I want to show you a low price stock that's a rock star. It's literally gone from 35 cents to 280, pulled down in the March debacle, and now it's platforming and about to explode. Lots of stuff happening in this company. I expect it to be at 285 and 4 in the next month, 6 weeks. If this blows with volume, it's going to explode. For you low price fans, another little cheapie, Copen. Long downtrend, massive reversal. Look at the volume. Stock hasn't traded this volume in a long time. Look at the weekly volume. You don't see that kind of volume unless the stock is a major turnaround. Almost every bar is a green bar on a weekly basis. It's now been up for 6 weeks in a row and 9 of the last 11 weeks. But every up week has been a big up week. And I'm telling you, 2 3/4, 5.5, and 7 are my targets for Copen going down the road. Very intriguing trade. And if you look at the daily chart, beautiful uptrend in place and a nice little flag developing. In the oil sector, I like APA. I've always liked Apache. The stock got crushed from the double bottom and broke out. I put a swing on it at 6.5. The targets at 9 and 12. Both targets were reached. Hit 14. Consolidating. I don't think it's done yet. If the oil patch continues to press higher, I'm looking at 16, 19, and even 24.5 on Apache over the next few months. APA. A little stock I'm watching for potential breakout is Axovant, a biotech stock, which had a big downtrend. I look for stocks that have gotten pummeled. This is, by the way, a reverse split, I believe. You know how they've been acting. So a V bottom, a pop, and now a platform above the 50-day moving average. A beautiful setup for a big move, in my opinion. Currently at 334, I'm looking for 4 3/4, 5.5, and 7 in the next weeks and months. A measured move off the low, having moved from 141 to 394, about 2.5 points added onto the pullback low, you have at least 550. So I'm looking for that at a minimum measured move. Recent new swing is work. I think I showed you that earlier. Yeah. In the gaming group, ERI, which got pummeled from 76 to 6, or 70 to 6, whatever it was. Then popped and pulled back, and when it broke out there, I put a swing on it around 12. It's made it to 36. It's tripled in less than 2 months. And it doesn't look done yet. They're merging with seizures, by the way. If you're looking for metals, I think Pan American Silver in the silver sector is fabulous. A lot of the gold stocks are as well. I'll show you a couple of those. I like Pan American Silver move to 33 and 38, maybe 40 over the next few weeks and months as well. Great chart there. In the gold sector, GOLD was looking great until recently when it backed off to the moving average, but I think it's a buy down here for a bigger long-term move. It probably looks a little like this. Something like that. And that takes me to 35.6 from 24 currently. I'm looking for a 50% move in the next few weeks. Another one is AU. As you can see, AU similarly, a really sharp angle of ascent, which was unable to be maintained. You can see how it popped, retested, made a nominal new high, couldn't follow through. Right now, my new angle of ascent tells me the next move to this one is mid-30s as well. So I like GOLD, Barrick, and AU, Anglo Gold in the gold sector. I like little EGO, Eldorado Gold, if you can pop out of here as well. And there's a few others. Like Kirkland is my favorite gold in the last 2 years, and here's why. I picked it when it broke out here at 13 and change, and it went up to 50 some odd, more than tripling. After the smackdown and V bottom, now it's giving you what I consider an entry opportunity, the 50-day moving average. And I think that Kirkland has designs on retesting the highs at 50 and making a move towards 60 in the next few weeks and months. I think gold may have a major generational type move in the next 12 to 18 months. That's my opinion. Well, folks, we're running towards out of time, and I'm sure there's lots of questions. I just want to give you a flair for the kind of work I do, both intraday for day trading on 1-minute charts and swinging. And what I consider a swing is anything from 5 days to 5 weeks, sometimes as long as 3 months. But most of my swings don't last much longer than that. So without further ado, if you have any questions, let's hear them.
All right, thanks so much for that, Harry. Again, people, you can submit your questions right there on your screen, so feel free to bring those in. Just to go back over, they were wondering, how do you come up with your watch list again?
Well, I have, okay, this watch list here is something I've accumulated in months. You can see there's almost 1,500 stocks on there out of a universe of 12,000. So that's about 11, 12% of the entire universe. But these are all stocks that at one time I day traded or had swing trades on. So I maintained those stocks. But every once in a while, if it dropped like this one, for example, if it drops under $2, I may delete it. I don't want to talk about stocks in my room that are under $2 for the most part. For the most part, there's certain special situations like I just showed you on MLSS and KOPN. I think those are two potential huge 3, 4, 500%, even 1,000% gains in the next year or two. Those are the kind of stocks I like following and accumulating in my personal portfolio. But how I find stocks in the morning is I look for stocks that are gapping up, that are up at least 10 or 15%, and are doing it with big volume pre-market. When I see that, it tells me money's flowing. I then look for what the news might be, and if it's really big news like phase 3 data or FDA approval or some kind of major contract or something, a major earnings report, blowout earnings, those are the kind of news that can trigger a big day trade. And often they do. And when I see those patterns from there on in, it's just strictly technical. In the morning is the only time I look at fundamentals, the only time. Unless it's a long-term position, I'm not interested in fundamentals. I'm interested in the way the pattern develops and how I can make money and how my people can make money using intraday day trading technicals and on a little bit longer term basis using 5 and 15-minute charts over a 3 to 4 week period, analyzing those patterns to see what may be good swing trades going forward in the next few days and weeks.
All right, thank you very much. Had someone asking about what are your thoughts on American Express and Sandstorm Gold?
Okay, well, here's my thoughts. American Express is a bit of a laggard. Now, I'm not saying it didn't rally like most stocks did, but when you look at some of these stocks that have monster moves, American Express has just recently popped out of this base pattern, but there's an awful lot of resistance. The underlying technicals aren't great. As a matter of fact, when I look at this pattern, what comes up for me is that these rally highs and this gap in there is resistance. Today's high was right at the gap. I would not be surprised if it back and filled it here. Now, if it gets through it and the market continues to rally, we should see American Express at about 110.12, at which point it's a little bit too far too fast, and I would probably exit for a trade. That's just me. The other one was what?
Sand, S-A-N-D.
Junior Gold. Yeah, I know it well. Well, Sandstorm, very similar to a lot of the golds I just showed you with V bottoms and running channels. What I would do in this one, I would say this is key support. Cannot let this go below 7.25 thereabout. You let it go below that, it could roll over on you. So the two layers of support, the pullback lows here recently about 764, and this one here near the gap is 725. So in that zone is where I want that any pullback to be contained. And if it doesn't, you expect a breakdown. If it does and it holds this line, which is a nice little rising channel, my target's going to be about 9.75 going forward, and then we'll see where it goes beyond that. Beyond that, in a long-term basis, you can see that this stock had just broken through literally a 7-year base, so it can see much higher levels. I have a target about let's say 10.5 and 13. Any others?
Yes, they were wondering if you use any indicators.
Well, the indicators I use are basically on-balance volume and volume. OBV, I'm not going to get into an explanation of what OBV is, but it's basically the difference between up volume and down volume on a sliding basis, and it's plotted with a dotted line. Underneath that is money stream and balance power, very similar to ADX and relative strength and Bollinger Band and stuff like that. It basically shows overbought, oversold, or at least whether this is what this is for is to see whether the trend is being confirmed. If we're getting a negative divergence, meaning the price goes up and this isn't going up, then maybe that's a negative divergence and you got to be careful. But I also look at relative strength. I look at other technical indicators, but they're on a different window. I believe in keeping it simple.
All right, just a couple of minutes here. Someone was asking about Snap, and if you see a swing long on it.
My only problem with all the stocks in this market. First of all, from a timing and cycle standpoint, I believe the market is nearing a major important peak, at least from a short term. From when I say major, I'm talking about I just think the market's overbought short term and needs to pull back and consolidate, maybe even move sideways in a choppy manner while certain stocks go up and others come down. I'm a stock picker. I believe in no matter what the market's doing. On the worst days, the Dow's been down 600, 700, 800 points. We made money in our room with some of the stocks that were moving momentum-wise. So what I invite everybody to do is come into my site, thetechtrader.com. Sign up for 2 weeks free, no credit card. Just sign up and come on in for 2 weeks. Enjoy the site. Most of my people that have done that have told me they've made enough money in the free 2 weeks to pay for a year in advance of my site. So that's a place I want you to come and visit. Spend some time with us, get some good ideas, make some money, and look forward to having you guys in the site with us. In terms of Snap, most stocks have gone up and consolidated. If Snap breaks out, and here's your key resistance, 18.5, 19.75. We can get through that zone. The stock could be 22 and 24. Those are my projections. Right now, it looks like if it doesn't break down, I'd have to stop under 16, simple as that. Under 16, it's vulnerable to 14, 13 or worse. But if it can hold it here, today was a nice reversal day. When I say reversal day, it came down to support and bounced sharply near resistance. Let's see in the next day or two if it gets to 18.5. Then you're probably looking at 19.75, 21, 24. You know, those are your targets.
All right, just have a couple of more questions.
Shoot.
Let's see. Someone was wondering about what do you think the price target is for IXND?
IXND. Oh, I mean, you're talking about is he talking about the NASDAQ 100 index?
If you can elaborate more on that ticker, we can move on to the next one. Looks like we have time for just one more.
IXND. I never heard that, but I see what it is. It's the same as the NDX-X. It's basically the NASDAQ 100. The old high, 97.36. We're getting close. Wouldn't surprise me if we got up there, double topped and backed off. If we blow through that, the shorts are cooked. Last question.
All right, last one. They're just wondering if you have a favorite news source for biotech.
Did you say news source?
Correct.
Well, first of all, you know, I have a news source called briefing.com. It's real good. It's not particularly biotech, but it shows me anytime news pops, it's right there ahead of or right at the same time as all the major news services. So that's what I use. It's about 35, 40 a month, and it's really worth it. Briefing.com. But from a standpoint of biotechs, most of the sources I use are my traders who are very close to a lot of hedge funds and a lot of biotech analysts. I know one guy in particular, or two guys that own a biotech hedge fund that give me a lot of information. Oh, I did want to throw one other stock out, NBSE. I think this is a stock of the future in the biotech sector. It's got a beautiful chart, and I think this is going to be a $35 stock in the next year. There's a lot of really good stuff going on right now, trading at $8. I think it's a steal down here. So, but in terms of biotech news, I just rely on some of my sources to give me information. That's pretty much it.
Harry, that looks like it's got us wrapped up. As always, we appreciate having you. We hope to see you soon at a Traders Expo, and it's been a pleasure, sir.
Thank you for having me.